Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Alex's Afternoon Art Show. Today we are doing Weapon X, and I'm going to be talking about anatomy and expressions. That was the other one I was thinking of. I had to look at it just to remind myself of that. We are going to have a background on this one, but it's going to be simple, and we're going to be obscuring it mostly, so it shouldn't be too bad all in all. It should be reasonably easy. Shouldn't be agonizing in theory. But even though this is actually, we're not even that far from the afternoon right now. It's not evening, despite how it might look. It's just that dark. It's just that part of the year now where it's that dark. So yeah. Anyways, I will end this horridly awkward intro, and then by rolling the actual intro, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about with some of the expressions and anatomy and stuff like that. Anyways, Jesus. Oh, God, I have to end this. I have to get on with this. It's killing me. Anyways, roll the intro. Okay, so, intro aside, I did mention that we're dealing with anatomy. Now, anatomy is very important, I would say, in terms of art. A moderate knowledge of anatomy, to me at least, feels kind of necessary to doing a lot of art of humans. But yeah, so I talk about this sometimes whenever I'm talking about posing, but it's kind of important to know which way things connect. Now, you can obscure certain things that you don't want to have to deal with. For example, the way that the shoulder connects into the chest here is something which I kind of like, it's quite hard. It can be hard to sell, so I've put them in these straps are supposed to be there, but I've put them in kind of inwards a little bit, so they kind of slightly obscure where the where this kind of inward kind of folding of the muscle comes in. And again, when it comes to the way that you see muscle in anatomy, you will get these kind of like, especially whenever someone's like really shredded, you'll get these kind of like stretch, these kind of like little lines, like not even like stretch marks, but little like muscle lines across the chest like this, which kind of like fold across their chest, and you get it with the traps up here, and yeah, as well, where you get like these little lines, like you can't really see it because the hair's covering it, and it's the same thing with the way the neck connects to the collarbone, or the top of the chest anyways, the way that all that muscle connects in, and then you get these little lines along the neck that come up like here. And yeah, so another thing as well is obviously the way that on people who are particularly muscular, you'll get these kind of like bubbly lines along the sides of their kind of torso, which are these kind of like, it's just more musculature forming inwards along the kind of rib cage, then into and along down into their kind of lower chunk into the abdomen. And again, I find that just kind of a general understanding of the anatomy of where it's like, oh, what happens here? You get this little folding line here with the bicep. Okay, well then behind here you get this extra little fold, this little musculature, which comes along down along the back of the trunk here. I'm probably not using correct terms, but it doesn't really matter. You don't need to know the terms. You just need to know how it kind of meets. So yeah, along the back of the arm, you get this kind of extra little bit of musculature moving down into the forearm, and then obviously a lot of this kind of then blends down into the hand. And especially with the legs, you get a lot of these little lines, but with the leg, you could kind of mask some of it a little bit more, because particularly if you're drawing a lot of male characters, you aren't going to be seeing as much like defined muscle on the legs. You'll be seeing a lot of muscle, but you're not going to be seeing it quite as defined. as it would be otherwise. This tendencies thing. Like on average, a muscular man is more defined on the upper body than the lower body, generally, on average. So, largely speaking, you can get away with kind of cutting a few corners here, and also, again, Wolverine's very hairy. So I can mask some of the stuff here with the hair, as I've done on the legs. And yeah, so with the kind of anatomy and posing thing, it kind of all comes together of where, realistically speaking, what I feel like you should know about anatomy is more or less just kind of how things meet, is the general basics of it, because whenever you're doing a pose, what you don't want is to have someone having their kind of arms out like that, or something like that, or even their arms down. They're kind of the traps would be more emphasized because those are being flexed. Whenever the arms are down, you're flexing that. So you need to, whenever you're doing that kind of a pose, you need to emphasize these things. And here you can't really see his neck because he's kind of hunching in and stretching down. So because he's got such a muscular body, the traps are pushing up, and you can't really see his neck, and he's got this kind of like lowered, stooped neck position. So it's not quite as emphasized. You can still see bits of it, like you can still see like some of the front of his neck, but you can't see like the sides of it or anything. Like that's not being emphasized. They're not really all that emphasized by the pose. And that's the thing. It's kind of like certain things are emphasized by certain poses, certain things really aren't. So, oh, my eyes really itchy all of a sudden. But yeah, certain things are emphasized more so by certain poses. So that's the kind of relationship between anatomy and posing. Is you generally need to have a sort of an idea of how a pose may affect the anatomy, because if you don't, it's going to look a little weird. Like, it's not going to be the most noticeable thing in the world every time. Sometimes you might do it, like you could do a similar pose to this, but you might not emphasize the kind of traps here. So what that will do is he'll get like a bit of a flatter shoulder, and say he has that flatter shoulder and you can see his neck, and that'll just make him look a little skinnier. That's all that'll do. It'll make him look skinnier. Which here I obviously don't want. I want him to look like a man mountain. I want him to look like he's built. So this is the thing. Whenever I'm doing this stuff, I want to emphasize the muscle more. So that's whenever the anatomy is more important. Is whenever you want to really emphasize these pieces of anatomy, or whenever you really want to emphasize, the kind of build of a character, you need to kind of know the anatomy. Because if you don't know the anatomy and you're just doing it, then you're maybe not going to be able to emphasize the build the way that you want. Because in the opposite way, you might end up making a character look too muscular because you've emphasized certain parts of the anatomy that wouldn't be as on show if the character wasn't that muscular. So this is the thing, is it's kind of, it's kind of, I suppose, it depends on what you're doing. Sometimes it's not important, sometimes you can kind of bumble your way into doing it right, sometimes you can do the opposite, you can kind of fumble it a little bit, but largely I find that it helps to know the anatomy a little bit. But yeah, that's only one of the chunks that I wanted to talk about, but I won't take as long to talk about the next one. The next one is just expressions. Now, largely I find that expressions can be a little difficult, particularly if you can't see all of the face. Because, say for example, I do a face of where I'm like that. The eyebrows and my eyes are what's selling the insincerity of the smile. Because if I had a more kind of, that seems just like a slightly more sincere smile because my eyebrows are down, and my eyes are narrower, meaning that it sells it more as a truer smile. Obviously, I was smiling a little wider whenever I did that, but here, that obviously creates the issue of, if you don't have all the face, you can't necessarily sell a more complex expression. But here, this is supposed to obviously be an expression where he's just kind of like something like that, a little grumble. And you can picture what his eyes are probably like. You can probably picture that he's got a furrowed brow, he's got kind of narrowed eyes because of the particular way that his mouth is. And yeah, so that's kind of really the big one with the expressions, is just some expressions are a little easier than others. Sometimes, particularly if you don't have all the real estate of the face, you need to kind of, and you want to do a weird expression, it might be better to go for something a little bit easier to convey with only the mouth or only the eyes, and vice versa. So yeah, that was a lot of rambling, but yeah. So yeah, realistically speaking, this isn't a very crazy Weapon X design, all in all. I've a lot of the older art, in a lot of the Barry Windsor Smith art of Weapon X, you don't see a lot of these kind of little arm spikes. Sometimes you do see them, I think. But yeah, he is fully nude, and obviously you have to kind of obscure some of this with the belt of all the bits of wiring and stuff, and just bits on it, and you have to obscure some stuff because yeah, he is fully nude. And I'm curious as to how the YouTube age rating is going to treat this one, because he is fully naked, but obviously there's no genitals on show, so it's fine. But yeah, he is otherwise fully nude. Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, this could either be a really quick one or a really long one, for multiple reasons. There's really basically nothing I have to color. He's got like one color going on here, and it's mostly just his skin. But a lot of these, like a lot of his bits here, a lot of his like little panels and stuff, they've got a lot of little tiny little bits to draw in them, which I don't know how hard those are going to be. So we shall see what happens, because I've got to draw all these little circles and little spikes coming out of his arms as well. So we'll see what happens. I'll try and make it quick. We do have a background, but it's just dead trees. That's all I'm going to be doing, and I'll be obscuring a lot of it with some like kind of mist, some like snowy mist. And I might put some snow in, but I'll see what I do. Again, I want to try and get this one done quick, so we'll see what happens. I'll try and get it done quick, but in all honesty, this one's probably going to take as long as any other one would. Excuse me, my voice went there for a second. But yeah, anyways, I'll begin. Okay, so it is now the following day, and I'm going to quickly kind of do the last few bits of this. So, yeah, first things first. Whenever I was going through and doing the details, I also kind of did a little bit of the background. Obviously, I just mentioned before, it's just going to be dead trees, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of the kind of hazy low fog thing, so I'm going to probably be erasing some of this anyways later. And I'm going to be putting more dead trees further in the background, but I want to be able to... I don't want to obscure any of the details on Wolverine, so I'll just wait until after I'm done with the colours before I do that, and I'll throw on the background colour as well. It'll probably be very dark, the background colour I used, but largely the colours here shouldn't be too difficult because I've not got many of them to do. On Wolverine it's mostly gonna be just skin and silver, that's it really, and I'll do a couple of colours for the buttons and the for some of his like little panel buttons and stuff like that, and for his the red for the visor. But largely, I don't think I'm not gonna color in the body hair. I just don't think there's much of a point to doing it. I think it'll just be too time consuming, really. And you already get the idea, anyways. I don't need to color it in. It's just gonna be black anyways, so there's not much of a point coloring it in. But I think I might give him like a little bit of a little breath haze, a little breath swirl that I'll do, maybe something like that. Just a little swirl that comes out of his mouth, and just turn low opacity on it, and just maybe blur it, something like that, just to give the idea of it. Because I think I'll probably throw a few little bits of snow around just for the sake of it, because I'm going to be doing low white fog, and then I'll probably have to think about it, but I'll be doing stuff like that, and then I'll throw some more trees in the background, stuff like that. So that's the kind of idea I'm going for. Some of this stuff took a lot longer than I thought. Obviously all these little panels and everything on all these, the bucket helmet and all these little crotch panels. It took a while, and then obviously doing all the arm spikes was time consuming as well. But yeah, I did a similar drawing a while ago, similar to what I'm doing here. There was a drawing which I did, which was a saber-tooth one, which I think even had a similar name, because this one, the file name is Weapon X in the wild, and the Sabretooth one is Sabretooth in the wild, so yeah, it is the same. But yeah, so I'm just going to throw probably another tree behind him directly, and that'll probably be the last one I do. But I'll be doing I might do a second gradient map for the background specifically. But yeah, I'll be doing like a hazy mist that'll go over a lot of the background. So yeah, I might even do a little bit of that covers around his the bottoms of his legs. So we'll see about that as I'm going. I know what I want to do, and I have the idea more or less down of what I want to do for this, so it shouldn't be too bad. It shouldn't be hugely time consuming. I'm not going to make him super pale or anything, but our color palette that we're going for is going to be a cold one. So yeah, we'll see how that works out as we're going. But yeah, I think that's enough dilly-dallying, more or less. So I'm going to run through my colors. I'll start with the skin, because that's obviously going to be the most time-consuming one. I'll probably have to do a lot of refining of these edges as I'm going later on. But yeah, I'll probably throw in a background color during this whole process, but it'll probably be just a gradient of like a dark blue to a lighter blue, something like that. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see what I do. Anyways, I will begin. Okay, so that is our colours done. So now I've got to do the painted shading, and realistically speaking, the painted shading shouldn't take too long because I only have to shade very little. I only have to shade his skin, the brown, and the silvers. And that's it. I'm not going to shade the red, I'm not going to shade any of his little colours. I wasn't thinking about doing it, but then I pulled up some reference from the Weapon X comic, and I saw that there was generally a lot of these extra little bits. I mean, there's also cables that are supposed to connect the helmet down to the rest of this, but I'm just going to say that they are connecting, but just at the back, so I don't have to think about it. But yeah, there should realistically be cables from this going down into the rest of this, and then from here all down like that. But that's a whole lot more effort than I'm willing to put in right now, because I've already put in an hour just doing these colors and that background tree. So yeah. That's all the trees we're going to do. I'm probably going to do the little erasing thing like I did with the buildings and the black cat drawing, and like I've done a few times before. I'm probably just going to do something like that, just erase up a little bit, and then apply some fog over, some kind of heavy fog that kind of comes up like that, and that kind of gives us the impression of the snow, and then I'm actually going to have actual little bits of snow coming down. And then I might maybe apply some blur or something like that in a few different places. So yeah, and I'll give him a little bit of a little mist mouth. But I will do that after I'm done all the shading and everything. I'll do that once I'm done with the character, basically. I'll do all my background stuff in just an extra little section after that. But yeah, anyways, I will do this painted shading. Shouldn't take very long, and then I'll be back to do the detailed shading, and then I'll do my background stuff. So yeah. Okay, that's our painted shading done, and yeah, I feel like I changed both of the painted shadings on the silvers to be linear light layers, so that they have a different effects to them. So obviously, we have actually I'll do it on the normal silver because it's a little bit more obvious. So on the normal silver, this is normally how it is. I mean, it's still pretty intense, but I just feel like on linear light, it's a little bit more intense in a way that I like. So yeah, I don't mind that. That works for me, I think. So that is our painted shading done. So now I'm going to do the detailed shading, which will take a minute. And I will lump in the light line into this segment as I'm going. So yeah, I will do the my detailed shading, and then I will do the what do you call it as well. I'll do the detailed shading, and I will do the my brain is failing me right now. So I'll do the detailed shading, I'll do the light line, and then I'll be back to do the final little bits and pieces of the background. You know, I might even throw that into this section rather than having to break it up. I'll just do that with this. I'll just do those last little background bits with this. It won't take very long. All I have to do is just do a bit of a foggy haze down here, and then maybe erase up the trees a little bit. That's all I have to do. That's it. And then I'll maybe do some stuff with. Well, I'll throw in some snow, and then I'll give Wolverine his little kind of breath trail. But yeah, Yeah, that's all I really have to do. I'll just throw in some snow and breath trail, some haze. That's really all I have to do. Like once I'm done, once those things go on, the kind of sparseness of the trees won't seem so obvious. It won't be quite so much of the sparseness of these trees. They won't seem so bad whenever that stuff goes on. But yeah, so I will do this and then I'll be back after I've done the detailed shading, the light line, and the background stuff. And then I'll be back to wrap things up. So yeah, I'll do this. Okay, that is us basically done. This took a little longer than I expected. It took 2.5 hours, but yeah. So, I did all my background stuff. I had to do 2 different layers of mist to create the effect that I wanted to make it like pretty much a heavy whiteout at the bottom of the screen. And then obviously layering in all the snow took a while as well. But the breath I think looks alright. It's pretty subtle, all in all. And yeah, it's pretty blurred, so it's pretty minor. But yeah, like whenever you zoom in, it looks pretty decent. I think the smoke or like the mist looks pretty decent. Like it looks like a proper whiteout here with all the kind of little kind of particulates and stuff like that kind of make it kind of blur out and all the edges and stuff here. I think that works all right. So yeah, I think that's pretty decent. So the texture will kind of enhance that. We're only going to be doing the 1 texture this time, not the 2 that I did last time. And that I've been doing quite a lot recently. We're just going to do the 1, but before that I will do my gradient maps. And these will probably be pretty dark, is my thought process here. They'll probably be pretty dark. So we want our first one to be kind of a purpley blue. And then this one to be a very pale blue, because we want this to be a cold color palette, a very cold color palette. So we want it to look something like this, and then get that one there and put it down here. It was pretty cold. And maybe bring it up a tiny bit. Or you know what, bring it down there, and put another one here. Bring this one up like that, and just kind of slightly bring it up to there, and this one a little lower. I'd probably go even lower with that, and this one maybe a touch lower as well. I want that to be pretty dark all in all. It's all blues, so this should make it look pretty cold. Let's have a look at the overlay. Yeah, that's intense. That's pretty intense, but we're going to stick with soft light because we don't want to lose all of our colors. And then we're going to turn it down to about 60%. Or you know, I could probably turn this up to like 70%, so it'll be pretty intense still. And create a duplicate, and then we will set this one to be a luminosity, which will make things a little darker and a little richer. We don't want to use this too much because we do still want the kind of heavy whiteout kind of haze to remain. We don't want to lose all that white at the bottom of the screen. Create another duplicate, which will be our color burn. And then this one will be pretty intense as well. And we'll leave this one at a 5% because this one will wash out our red quite a bit, which we don't want to lose the red entirely. So, yeah, that is our gradient maps. And now I will grab my texture and I will use that for... yeah, and I'll slap this on here to kind of, yeah, apply just a little bit more noisiness, a little bit more haze to this. Give it that that kind of watercolor wash that I always like. And an overlay. I'm probably going to want this one to be reasonably intense, so we'll look on 40%. We don't want it to be so intense that we can't determine Earth so that it kind of washes stuff out too much. Oh, 30%, how's 30%? 30% lightens it up a solid amount. 40% lightens it up quite a bit. It brings out these kind of blotches around here of the snow and everything. I think we're going to want it at 30% though, even still. It's not quite as intense. We don't want it to be too intense, because that will just make things messy. But yeah, I think that is us more or less. That is my rendition of Weapon X in the wild. So yeah, that is us. So this was a fun one. Even though it was surprisingly difficult for what it is, with all the little bits and pieces that I had to do. But yeah, like stuff like the body here didn't take very long, but it's just these little bits like the arm pieces, and then the claws weren't too hard, but just all these little panels and everything, and all the bits on the bucket helmet. Just kind of add all those little bits of time, but I think overall it came out pretty decent. I think it came out pretty well. It's got a really nice kind of cold wash to it with this kind of cold gradient of where it goes from like the really dark blue down into the pure white. So I think that's a nice kind of gradient with the way the background works and the way you've got all the bits of snow here. And if you zoom into the snow, you can see the same gradient where it works out into a kind of a little blue color. But yeah, I think that's nice. I think it comes out quite nice, and it makes the snow look more snow-like, because on snow you do see that kind of soft blueness as it goes out during the day anyways. But this is nighttime, so maybe you shouldn't be seeing that. Still does enough for us. If there's moonlight hitting it, maybe you'd still be seeing some of that blueness to the edge. And then obviously you've got these trees which are bleeding away into the background. But yeah, I enjoyed this one all in all. It was a fun one. It's nice to get to draw Wolverine every now and then, because I don't think I'm very good at it, but I think I'm getting better at it. Because, yeah, I mean, you can see a pretty direct comparison between the two Wolverines that I did for the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 mural. I think there's a pretty decent comparison of okay to, I think pretty decent. With those, because there was obviously two Wolverines I had to do for that. But yeah, anyways, I don't want to dawdle for too long here. I do want to wrap things up and then be done with this. But yeah, I enjoyed this all in all. But yeah, I will do my outro and then I will leave you. So, with all that said, that is us. So yeah, if you liked the video, do whatever it is that you'd normally do, whether that be liking or not. I would of course prefer if you liked it, but I can't make you do that. So you do it if you want, but yeah, again, I can't make you do it, unfortunately. If I could make you do it, I would, but you know, that's how things are. But yeah, it doesn't really bother me. But yeah, anyways, if you want to subscribe, it's the same deal. I would of course prefer if you did, but if you choose not to, that's your own prerogative. But yeah. And I don't need to tell you where the subscribe button is, because you've presumably watched a YouTube video before. And God, I always forget this outro. You'd think that I'd remember it given how many times I do it, but anyways. And yeah, if you choose to watch the next video, I will see you next time. So, with all that said, that is us, and I will say goodbye. So yeah, bye-bye. I thought that was weird.